Hey everybody. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to quickly get started with Adobe Lightroom Classic. The reason I don't use the cloud version is because the photos I take are really large format, and the cloud version requires you to actually upload everything to the cloud. Plus, their editing, I think, is a little bit limited. I haven't really dived too deep into that, but I've gotten so comfortable with Lightroom Classic because I shoot all of my photos in RAW format, which really preserves the digital information taken with every photo. Whereas when you convert things to JPEG, there's a lot of data there that is lost. So the RAW format is basically like your digital negative. So just to get started really quick, first I'm going to show you how to import photos. But just taking a look over here real quick, you'll see that I have 3 hard drives that I've set up. One is called Photo 1, Photo 2, and Photo 3. And I've got, thousands and thousands of photos that I've taken over the years. So for example, in 2012, you'll see that I took 23,000 photos. In 2013, 16,000 photos. 2017, 20,000 photos. And they're organized on hard drives that I don't currently have connected. So that's why you don't see this little green icon here. Instead, they're grayed out because I don't have them connected. And you'll see question marks next to every folder, meaning that Lightroom cannot currently find them. For this demo, I have just connected one hard drive. I've already imported some photos here, but in your case, all this will be blank. And so you'll head right over here and we're going to get started by hitting the import button. Now, assuming that you already have your memory card connected to your computer in some way, either through an adapter or through a memory card slot directly on the computer, it'll appear here. In this case, I have my Nikon Z7 memory card, and I'm going to go down to the folder here where the photos are stored. Now, as you can see, all of the photos are currently grayed out, and the reason is like I showed you before, I already have a lot of photos already in my photo library, and I have the option here selected to not import suspected duplicates. And so what Lightroom does here is actually pretty cool. So if you've already imported some photos from your memory card, you haven't cleared your memory card, and you've continued to shoot new photos, it's not going to make you import those old photos again or make you sift through them manually to find new photos. Instead, it automatically stops you with this option from importing any duplicate photos. And so as you can see, I've already shot a bunch of these photos. I'm just going to jump right down to the bottom where there's 4 photos that I've already kind of set up for this. And these are photos that do not exist in my photo library yet. But these are a bunch of video files that I don't want to import either. So I'm just going to uncheck everything. And for this demo, I'm going to highlight these 4 photos, check one, which causes all these to get checked. And then over here, I want to make sure that I'm making a copy. I don't want to move. I don't want to add. This copies the file from the memory card over to my hard drive. The move option, on the other hand, will actually remove the file from my memory card and move it over. I don't like doing that too much. I'm not too comfortable because if something goes wrong for any reason, which is not likely, but it could happen, you may end up losing both versions. And so I'm not going to go with that. And then adding it only adds files in their current location, which if you're looking to organize your photo library and if you have as many photos as I do, this is not a good option. And especially if you're going to change or move files around or change computers, this doesn't make a very good option. So I'm going to go with the copy option. Over here, I want to make sure that my photos are organized into subfolders by date. And I want to select the appropriate hard drive. I don't want to import them onto the memory card. I want to import them onto the hard drive. So I'm going to click that hard drive. And what you'll see here is that they've already organized the 4 photos into the folder that corresponds with the date that I took the photos. Now I'm going to hit import. Now it's finished importing these 4 photos. Now, these are all very similar photos here that I took in a set. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start editing one of these. So the first thing I wanted to show you was, say you've got a huge set of photos that you just imported. What you can do is hit this little gray icon here, and it'll add it to what's called a quick collection. And that exists over here. So let's just say I have a ton of photos over here that I just imported. I kind of want to make my selections of what I want and what I don't want. And I've selected the photos that I want to now move to the next step and edit. I move them into my quick collection, and this is just a quick tip. Now heading over to my quick collection, you'll see that I've actually added quite a few photos. Now, The photo that I just imported is actually a really bad photo. And the reason is because I've completely underexposed the inside area, and I've just barely exposed parts of the outside and overexposed other parts. And so this is a really poorly shot photo. Usually we would want to use some kind of filters here or an HDR method, which I can get into in future tutorials. But for now, let's just say this is all I have. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to develop. One of the things I like doing with photos like this is dropping the highlights. And what this does is it takes the brightest part of my photos and it brings them down. And just to show you again, if you look out here, you'll see that the outdoors is pretty washed out. What I'm going to do is bring that all in. And so now you can sort of now define that there's a building out there, whereas before you couldn't. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the shadows. Now, all this looks very different depending on what screen you're editing on as well. So I just wanted to add that as a disclaimer as well. So your screen that you're editing on does matter. The built-in screen on my MacBook has proven phenomenal, and it has for generations of MacBooks for me. Anytime I plug in an external monitor, the colors, the contrast, and all those things render very differently. And so that's just something to be mindful of when you're editing, and you may want to try to move your photos around on different screens just to kind of test that out. Okay, so now I've got the darkest part of my photos brought up and the lightest part of my photo brought down. So now I'm going to increase a little bit of the contrast and then expose the photo a little more. Now you can see it's actually beginning to look like a halfway decent photo. Still pretty bad. As you can see, now that I've exposed a lot of the darker parts, the underexposed areas, I'm getting a lot of noise. And this is very typical of digital photos that are underexposed. And I'm going to leave that there for now. The other thing I like to do to make the colors pop a little bit is not mess with the saturation. I don't really like that too much. I'm going to bring that down to 0. Is actually Vibrance. And I don't know why. I don't know the science of it. I know that this makes colors pop without oversaturating the photo. So this is one tip I really like using. The newest versions of Lightroom now have this dehaze feature, which if you've got a hazy background, for example, which I will demonstrate in a minute, this is a really good tool to kind of bring that in. So as you can see, everything looks a little more clear now. And the last thing I'm going to do is kind of when you do experience some of this noise, what I like doing is coming down here and increasing noise reduction. And what this does is smooths out some of that noise. You can still see some discoloration, but it's not too noticeable. And the other thing to keep in mind is that the photo that I'm editing right now is enormous. And so when you size it down for social media or anything like that, all of those little imperfections actually just disappear. And so I'm going to, I increase the noise reduction luminance here, and then I'm going to sharpen the photo a little bit just to resharpen the edges. And so there we go. I mean, it kind of smoothed out the tile and made it look a little funny. I'm not crazy happy. Like I said, this is a horrible photo and probably a bad example to be using right now. But the last little edit that I wanted to show you before I move on is color temperature. As you can see from these light bulbs, for example, what should be sort of white light emanating here is appearing yellow. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cool down the photo a little bit or change the color temperature and bring it down a little bit. And what that does, it makes the colors look a little more natural. And I'm still going to warm it up just a tad. And so now it's looking a little more natural. Now that is just the screen that I'm on. Maybe the screen that you're looking on, watching this video on is probably making this look horrible, but every screen's a little different on mine. It looks like a better photo than what I started with. This is what I started with. This is what it is now. So to give you a better example, here's a photo of the Taj Mahal that I actually shot that's in my quick collection for this video that this whole photo shoot I was pretty proud of. And so I'm going to show you a quick develop techniques here. Going over to the develop area, the develop screen. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to increase contrast. I'm going to warm up the photo because this clearly looks a little bit too cool. And increase the vibrance. Now, as you can see, this is a hazy day. It's still very hazy in the photo. So I'm going to utilize this dehaze feature, which I absolutely love. it just adds this incredible drama to the photo. The sky begins to roll in really nicely. This was a very early morning shot. Now I'm going to expose the photo a little bit more to bring out the Taj Mahal. So now it's beginning to look more like the colors that I saw when I was there. Now, throughout this morning, the colors bouncing off this marble caused the building to change throughout the morning, and it was phenomenal. If you have the privilege or the opportunity to get to the Taj Mahal, please do. I implore you, go early in the morning, go see that spectacular building and all the colors coming off of it. This was shot, really early in the morning, and as you can see, there's just a ton of people already there. So one of the last edits I'm going to show you is cropping and straightening the photo. Over here, you can see a grid has popped up. I clicked this little square icon over here, and a grid popped up. And actually, this photo, surprisingly, is actually really straight. One way to get a really good angle on the photo or to straighten out your photo, if you have a horizon or some straight edge that you can use as a reference point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this here, and I'm going to use the tips of these towers as my reference point to make sure that the whole thing is aligned. So I'm going to sort of click the tip of one, go across to the other, and this will ensure that my photo is straight, which I think most certainly is not. So that didn't work too well. So what I'm going to do is actually going to take this number over here and drag it, and just look at the lines along the building, and you'll see that now that they're aligned pretty well. If I look at the tops of these towers, you'll see that they're sort of in the same position on both sides. Assuming that the engineers thousands of years ago got this right and this building is perfectly level, my photo is now level. The last thing is these heads that I have at the bottom of the photo are kind of bugging me. So I'm going to crop this upward. As a matter of fact, let's just say you want to keep the proportions of the photo. You can grab the bottom edge, hold shift on your keyboard, and it'll bring in everything proportionately. If you look at the left and right sides, you'll see that even those are coming in, and it's keeping the nice proportionality of this photo. The other thing is the photo is nicely centered as well. So there's really nothing further I want to do. Maybe just, bring in some additional clarity. Clarity helps you get some details in these landscape shots, a little bit of texture to bring out the trees and all that. And that's pretty much it. Now, if I want to use my previous method of dropping the highlights and bringing out the shadows, now I get even more detail in the photo. I get some of the greens instead of these trees looking black, and of course just more and more drama in the sky. So the other little thing is, let's just say I want to do little spot touch-ups. Now, I really like having these birds in the sky, but let's just say I want to get rid of them. Another quick edit to do is sort of the Lightroom version of the heal tool, and it's called spot removal. You click that, you make sure you're on the heal option here instead of clone. You don't want to be on clone, you want to be on heal, and just sort of draw over what you want to disappear. And there we go. We've now removed the birds from the sky. You just hit done here in the bottom corner. You can kind of see remnants of what was there before, but once you zoom out, it all disappears. This is a gigantic photo, so you don't see much of it at all. And the birds are gone. And it looks like I missed one actually over here. So it looks like there was a couple here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those. And there you go. Birdless sky, lots of clouds, lots of drama. I just took a hazy photo. So this is the before, and this is the after. And as you can see, night and day at 5 in the morning or whatever this was. I hope you guys learned something from this video, and if you did, please like, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask your questions in the comments section. Thanks for watching.